Good to see you, Crossfire Flash. Welcome to the stream. The YouTube is exactly like the stream, my friend. When are you supposed to recall in mid lane? It's like asking, when are you supposed to take a shit? You know, it's like, it depends on a lot of factors, you know? It's like, it's dependent on gold, it's dependent on wave state, it's dependent on how strong you are in like, in like the comparison to your lane opponent. Like sometimes it's good to base for some big items even off tempo, to have efficient. Sometimes the best thing to do is to get efficient bases. Sometimes the best thing that you can do is stick around, because maybe even with the enemy basing, maybe you're still stronger and you don't need to base and you want to maintain tempo and keep pressuring. You think Heretics can win versus Vitality? Well, yes, they can. They can. Vitality didn't look clean at all yesterday. Let's be honest, Vitality stole that victory from the opposition. And I think that preparation is going to be something that is very important against a team like Vitality, because hard forcing bowl games is not something that is easy to do. But the main thing that is tricky, Team Heretics didn't look so clean with Varus Karma. And the main question for Team Vitality and Team Fnatic, can these guys actually play range supports? Because they found themselves both where they were like challenging the other person to pick a range support, but in the end didn't. And they kind of banned champions for each other to kind of hide that weakness. Because when you think of Kaiser Leona, my man's looking comfy. Rakan on Rux, my man's looking comfy. But then you have clean Heimerdingers like Mickey X, right? And he's slapping bitches up. You know, and then you have like really good Ashe gameplay. You're gonna have good Karma gameplay. You're gonna have people that pick Jhin and then regret it because they lose on the spot. You know, we're gonna have many mixes of stuff. You know, can you link the okay? So Riot Max. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to plain and simple. We're going to review the G2 versus XL game first, and then we're going to jump into this game. You may have noticed that Perks picked water walk-in on Rise yesterday, which is currently prohibited in pro play. Our competitive operations team assists Perks did not gain a significant advantage via the rune. Vitality will be fine in line with the past precedent. Okay. Basically, the water walking rune. So you can abuse it in solo queue. Fuck the police, okay? You can basically use water walking to go into river, and then because Rise is one of the few champions that converts AP into more mana and mana into AP, right? He's the only champion that has this interaction. So when he walks into river, he gets more AP because of water walking, and then he gets more mana, and then after he loses the AP, he keeps the mana. Use it in solo queue, my friends. God bless. God bless. Use it in good health. Fuck the police. Use it in good health. Bismillah, and then just go. Yes. Let's begin, guys. XL versus G2. We've got 2 hours of great reviews to go through. Eyes on G2 begins now, episode 1. We had the debut of Yike. A lot of, you know, usually here, when I saw the Graves pick, right? When I see the Graves pick, so basically this was the draft, right? Let's write some stuff down here. So basically Wukong first pick, Xerxes Classic, right? I think it's very strange. I would like to see more Ashe first pick. Heimerdinger Ashe is such a lethal combination because I think Ashe is the best champion into Heimerdinger. So you solve both problems, and these champs are very in line with what they want to achieve in the game, right? They want to play the same way. They're going to force a summoner choice of cleanse. In terms of lane phase, this is a very lethal duo, and it solves the issue that Heimerdinger has into Ashe. We've seen many games where Heimerdinger is played into Ashe, and it's borderline where I would suggest that Heimerdinger players should run Cleanse just to avoid the fact that they're going to get screwed by Ashe arrows. If you want to counter Heimerdinger as a support, you need to outrange him. The worst things you can play into as Heimerdinger is shit like Seraphine, Lux, Xerath, like champions that it's just basically out of reach for him, and he has to pray that he hits some crazy grenade. But if he can play in that pocket where he can hit E into Q and poke and poke and poke and control the wave and create the situation where the enemy jungler can't interact with you, but your own jungler can interact with you, this is where Heimerdinger is the deadliest, okay? So this is a very powerful first rotation. You have to think that more teams should be first picking Ashe because it gives them the most flexibility. You can send it AD and you can match it with any support. And then the enemy team is forced, basically you force the enemy to pick Heimer, right? Heimerdinger, because Ashe and Heimerdinger together is just too powerful, right? They compensate for each other's weaknesses, and that's super, super important. We have the continuation. We see the Syndra. Considering Sylas and Ryze is out, it's completely okay. Here, Syndra blind is reasonable. Sylas, I don't think is a counter, and I think Ryze is just OP, right? So this is what falls in line. Syndra is completely a decent blind and is a Vatio classic. Varus is the go-to AD. Very happy to see Varus over Jhin into what is shown. Keep in mind, Lucian, Nami, Yuumi is out. So Varus is definitely the strongest AD in the picture now. In a situation where they went Heimerdinger and Varus as an example, the enemy getting Ashe is not a good thing. So I really, really like what G2 showed here. This is like a really, really big plus in my book. Third pick, Graves. Now this is where I was concerned. If we look at Graves in this context, towards what is showing, in the current jungle situation, it's not super easy for Graves to build an advantage into Wukong, right? It's not so easy. You have to achieve it. You need to make sure that you maintain initiative in the game, because if Wukong reaches level 6 and you have to play against champions like Varus and Syndra later on, it's very hard for a champion like Graves to be in the sphere of influence of Varus and Syndra without getting fucked. So in isolation, Graves, this is his mustache, Graves versus these three is not the greatest champion. You need to make sure now, with the lane phase bottom, the enemy team is dropping their support pick. You need to make sure that, of course, you manage to gain advantages. Graves needs to be ahead of the curve to be more useful than his opposition here. Very important. We go into 4-5 bans. We have a Gwen ban, which is a champion that is pretty decent into all three. I think whenever Gwen can have a good lane phase, it's super, super good. This signals, of course, that they want to pick K'Sante, and K'Sante is a champion that probably, I'm sure that Excel have an answer into in case they may picked on 4. This time around, they picked Jax on 4, and they responded with K'Sante. And then finally, we saw Jhin. I am happy to see the Karma ban. I don't know if Jace is the go-to pick into Jax, but all in all, Jace is also removed, something that Odoan has played a decent amount. Another thing about Jace, right, is Jace is pretty good into these three. Like, Jace is pretty fucking decent. It follows in line with the logic that Heimerdinger is weak against long range. Ashe can also get EQ'd and be out of the game. Same thing with Graves, right? So Jace is pretty decent into the three. I think Jace versus Jax is completely like laneable, and it's something that you can work with. But all in all, I think that the main purpose is to just make sure that these three are going to find more value in the game, right? And K'Sante is definitely something that 3 champions can hit. K'Sante won't have that great of a time. It's like K'Sante really relies on having momentum from his team to be able to stand on objectives, stack his Q, and provoke the enemy to enter into you. And in this case, right, considering they have Syndra, Varus, they have a decent amount of setup, K'Sante will be able to play this game. But in isolation, K'Sante will not be able to create initiative in a fight against the first 3. So this is good, this is good. And then naturally we have a Victor, like a champion that can just buy pretty much Liandry's. Even though we went Road of Ages this game, and Road of Ages is like the flavor of the month, I think in this particular match, I would say that going for Liandry is better. Road of Ages, you know, I think that the stats are nice and all, but the fact that you have no cooldown reduction, no Liandry effect, like in my mind, I think Liandry is still a very, very powerful item because it got such an indirect buff in this whole preseason due to the fact that HP is so much more accessible for tanks. So already K'Sante, already Wukong are going to build a lot of HP, and their composition are going to fight front to back. The main thing that Road of Ages gives you is that you become a lot more tankier. You get become a lot more tankier, and something that you can do with good Road of Ages usage. Basically, you need to pay attention to your Eternity passive, right? And basically, champions that don't spam as much as, for example, Kassadin, or this is me trying to write Kassadin, Rise, Cassio. Like these champions use the move speed buff very easily because they really just burn a lot of mana, right? So they trigger it easily. While with champions like TF, if you buy Road of Ages on TF or Victor, it's very important that you prepare your Road of Ages. So if you're playing Road of Ages, make sure to use spells as you're walking to lane because your mana pool is going to be massive. Just use spells as you go to lane. And then what you can do is you can build your mana in a way where it's going to trigger on, for example, your second spell rotation. That could be super, super useful. Banku, thank you very much for the 2 months. An example with Twisted Fate, right, is you use the mana when you start rolling the card. So imagine you do your first combo, you card, and then you Q, and then you've stacked your Road of Ages in a way where the next time you press W, you're going to get that move speed burst, and it can make a difference, right? This is something that we will see in the game that Caps utilize as well. But all in all, Road of Ages makes you a lot more tankier and gives you some options in terms of what you can and cannot do with your champion, right? You get a huge like HP bar, but I think Liandry's is something that is definitely undervalued. All in all, I think this should be a big no. I'm really not a big fan of the Jhin. I understand the purpose of it, right? You want to queue the Heimerdinger turrets, and then later you're going to have very, very long range, and Jhin support is very similar to Jhin AD carry, just that you won't reach that point where Jhin is going to actually hit hard and carry the game, right? So it brings that utility that Jhin always does, but with no, horizon where he's going to hit like 3-4 items where he begins to bonk the shit out of people, right? So that part of it is fine. He can provide utility even with low economy, has some good items to buy. The purpose is that you can queue the Heimerdinger turrets, and then Jhin as support. He doesn't need to waste his bullets hitting minions and last-hitting minions. He will rather much more just hit the enemy, poke the enemy, and of course with the move speed that he has and so forth, he has some options. But all in all, I'm not a super big fan. I'm not super sold. No one has really shown me anything that makes the champion stand out. And unless that's the case, I would just like to see it less. I'm not convinced. Something that I did was I put K'Sante kind of lower tier. I think I would after what I've seen so far, I would probably bump it up a tier. I think in terms of blind picking top is super, super tricky. And I was kind of unhappy with what I saw with K'Sante blind pick because often he was on the losing side of things. But you always have to ask yourself that question in the context of everything else. It's like, if I don't like K'Sante here, what would I rather have seen? And the answer is often tough. So all in all, K'Sante has weaknesses and they're often shown, but the champions behind him in a lot of cases would show even more weaknesses. So that's important to keep in mind. So I would probably bump him up on my tier list up to A together with everybody else. Okay. We continue. I think we talked about the draft. I think red side is more decent. Could you give me a DP cable from your room? What's a DP cable? I don't have this cable, Ellen. There's nothing plugged in. I will check then. Yeah, no, there's nothing plugged in. All right, let's begin with the game. So the first thing we're going to pay attention to is, of course, what information is Graves working with and which information is Wukong working with in the little chess game, right? Usually, if you have concerns about the potential invade, the tricky thing is that it takes so long for you to do enemy camps. They're 20% tankier against you. Broken Blade is dead. Everybody's dead. Excel's dead. Of course, this is fucking Carnage. He fucked us up. He is even fucking up LEC. It's just how it is. Going to move this just so you guys see the cooldown of the spells too. Okay. So let's see, what information are we working with? How are the players taking the decisions? So basically, Yike knows that his own Raptors are warded. Wukong has information now where Graves starts. Another thing is where they also know, because Wukong warded so late, he also knows where Wukong is going to start. Because if he goes to his own red buff, he's going to be too late. So both junglers know exactly where the enemy starts, even without leash. Okay? Important. Another thing to highlight, right, is they should be aware of the fact, like here, maybe there's a situation where Patrick and Targamas are potentially saying that they have prio bot. But if Ashe and Heimerdinger can contest the bush, level 1, and whoever's in the bush, level 1, and can actively... Basically, what you do with Heimerdinger is you want to place turrets in the bushes, and then use the move speed of the turrets in the bushes to go, right? How does he know it's without leash here? We don't know yet. We didn't talk about the leash just yet, right? It's just here, both junglers know that Wukong is starting blue and Graves is starting red. If the laners are showing, if Jax is showing top, K'Sante is showing top, they know it's without leash, right? Naturally. So in this case, where I want to check as well, it's like here, what Caps is doing is very cheeky, right? This is something that as the split goes on, he will not be allowed to do this. He will not be allowed to do this at all. Like here, in some cases, imagine Varus and Jhin are just in the bush and they chunk the shit out of Victor. This is something that you see later on. So basically what Caps is doing here is quite greedy, putting this ward on Raptors. Like here, because the bot lane still has time to mess him up, right? So both junglers are starting without leash. Graves is doing his Raptors and he's spotted. This ward spots him, of course. And now the question is, right, how do you solve a situation for Xerxes when he knows this invade is coming? So already now from this position, he sees that his bot lane is chunked and that they're going to lose the prio. Hansam is very healthy, they're going to be able to push them out. What is the thought process that comes from here, right? If you have the information from before that your bot lane is not going to have prio, what you can request is, like, K'Sante should potentially leash for you. It will be a little bit worse for lane, but I don't think it matters. Of course, K'Sante wants to be on the wave already and stack his Q and stack his Grasp, and it's going to be slightly helpful. But in terms of overall game impact, for Wukong to clear his first camp quicker and then to smite his Gromp, it gives him so much speed in terms of his clear. And this is something that is a potential solution in terms of what you can and cannot do. Another thing, right? Graves going from red to Raptors shows that he is skipping his golems. If Graves is skipping his golems, he is not clearing for efficiency, he is clearing to invade. Because in a situation where Wukong full clears into bottom side and Graves is doing red Raptors and clearing into bottom side and doesn't invade, he's going to be too far behind. He's going to get the crab and maybe he can cross for a double crab and then do golems. But if Wukong clears his camps and then bases and goes for respawn of Gromp, he's in a very good spot. So these are the details you need to pay attention to. So now Wukong, what options does he has? It's very important that if the game is a very active game, you need to make sure that you're in a position where you either have done Gromp or you've done Golems in your first 3 camps. Why is this essential? Because you need to hit level 3 on 3 camps. If you take the other camps, you need level 4 or maybe potentially steal some XP from somewhere in order to get level 3. The difference in power from jumping from level 2 to 3 is so big, and you having a camp and just having close to level 3 doesn't give you anything in terms of power. So this is super, super important. Wukong, of course, needs to clear his Gromp, but to choose to do his Wolves or not is the main question. If he decided to go blue Gromp into bottom side and potentially do his red and leash, so any combination of camps that involve Gromp and Golems will give you 3. Because these camps give you a lot of XP. That's what's up. So as long as you clear 3 camps, so for example, you can do Raptor, Red, Gromp, gives you level 3. So here you can see Wukong. Now Graves is already crossing, but Wukong does his wolves. Imagine a situation here where maybe they have information on their own raptors. Krugs is golems, yes. Plural, golems. Bro, raptors, it's like raid camp, you know, I'm old school gamer. The Krugs, golems, Krugs. We call them golems here, okay? So Wukong now, imagine a situation where they spotted Victor warding the raptors. And then Wukong would skip his wolves and then go to red and then leash it, right? And pull it. In that situation, it would be a lot more competitive and he could potentially finish the red by the time Graves finishes this invade, as an example, right? Imagine a situation where K'Sante leashes for Wukong, it also changes the dynamic of the timings. Because I think even in a world where Wukong does blue, Gromp, and rushes his own red, it is a little bit, it's tight. Graves could come in there last second and steal it, but it becomes a big flip, right? So here what Yak does is that he crosses to the golems. He has a ward on raptors, and now he can safely assume that Xerxes is doing 3 camps topside, Sulu, Sort. So he knows the timing of Xerxes cleanly here, right? All he does now, he checks the red. As long as the red is in the clear, he's fine. He still has the raptor on wards, and Yike is going for the golems because he wants to reach level 3, and this is essential, very important. Now in this spot, very awkward here for Xerxes because he's fake checking into his own jungle, and he's not so certain about what is going to happen, right? He doesn't know if he's going to get trapped on his red. And usually what junglers do is that they skip their own red and then they go to their golems. And this is what makes this situation so brilliant for Yike. The fact that he takes the golems away and he traps there. A very common situation is that, oh, I'm going to do my topside camps and then I'm going to attack, the enemy team wants to attack my red. So basically I skip the red, I put a ward there and then I do my golems and then I get supported by my own support to do them. But here this is a situation which hasn't occurred in the past, where the enemy is doing 2 camp into golem, and then there's a situation where just because G2 pushed 2 waves in, they have level 2 advantage into these guys. They still need to kill a couple of minions before they get level 2. So this is a very, very solid play and tough to break it. Very tough to break it. That's why those little nuances are so important. It's like K'Sante leashing for Wukong could have changed the timings. Patrick and Targamas defending their Raptor camp to not let Victor ward it is also a big deal, right? Syndra, like imagine a world where Syndra, Jhin, Victor trap and defend the ramp, and then there wouldn't be a ward, right? It would be interesting to hear comms to know if Yak is calling not to push since level 1. No, of course he's asking. Like, no one's saying anything. You never, like, in competitive play, you don't say, guys, stop pushing. I'm gonna come in for a gank. The thing is, if you have push, you gain momentum and you can secure yourself. Good players are going to secure themselves if they are allowed to win the push. If you're pushing, you're allowed to ward. You need to make sure, here he's playing off the fact that he knows that his bot lane is stronger. There is no like crazy idea here that they're going to like gank these guys in bot. The idea here is to get Yike ahead. Once again, guys, I don't give a shit about interviews, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just looking at the game for what it is. Because if we're going to play that game where we're going to try to psychoanalyze the players based on what they've said in interviews and whatever, it's like, it's really, it's like really whatever. Like it's a waste of time. I don't know what happened top for Adamna to get completely sister-fisted. Like I don't know what has happened top for this state. I really don't know. I really don't know. Like this here is a very disturbing picture. I have no clue how this has happened. Really. Like here, frame this picture It's like one of those abstract paintings in a museum, and you're like, oh, what do you see? Well, I see the depth of the love of a father towards his own daughter who just. It's like, I don't know what happened here. So now they have full vision, right? They spotted Xerxes on the Raptors. Now he gets chunked. And look at Mickey's grenade here. Look at Mickey's grenade here, okay? Grenade gamer, boom. The prediction on the W. Gorgeous. Flash out, and now he's chunked. And Xerxes losing all of his HP means that Yak can just take the red away. You know, of course, with perfect play, Xerxes is in a very awkward spot. Super, super awkward spot. Very awkward spot. Very awkward spot. Yeah, I wonder, it's tricky, right? Because I think that XL were in the state of mind that they don't think that their bot lane would get so turbo fucked level 1. So they don't consider the leash, they don't consider Wukong skipping camps, they just don't. And that sometimes happens. You learn from a best of one. Now Yak is super far ahead. Wukong is going for topside crab because he has nothing else to do. And then here, not sure why XL are posturing so fucking far forward. Like here, the fact that they are posturing, it's like they know that Graves is sniffing their asshole. Like the wave is perfectly fine. Like this wave is going to push into them. Let's see if it's gonna push into them. Like these range minions are dying, right? But they could be kept alive, and then maybe the wave would be even. Then it would be tougher. Yeah, it isn't super clear. Like honestly, now when I look at it, I think XL's bot lane is just completely screwed. It's like they are just screwed. Because G2's bot lane could just not push if the enemy is not posturing, right? So, like, they are screwed if they don't, they are screwed if they do, right? If they press B here, right? If they press B, it's like, oh, the wave is freezing towards us. We are fucked, we're gonna press B. Wukong is on top side, he's gonna try to recover the game somehow. Like they are just doomed. This is super tough. I don't remember here if Wukong goes for enemy golems. He's skipping crabs. He's checking raptors. He's going for golems. Or krugs, as some people said in chat. I think the way Mickey plays his turret is that it's not going to... No, even this Heimerdinger turret, I think this wave slow pushes. Because keep in mind, it's 7. It's like the proximity of the wave towards their own tower is too close. And it's 7 against 6. Right? So it's 7 minions. Even though this one is unhealthy, it can die late. And the wave is too far on their side. Right? It's like on this... Like if this is the center, right? It's like here you need 3 minion advantage to 1, right? It's like this is slow pushing towards a G2 even with this Heimerdinger turret. So this is like super awkward. Like this is super rough for XL. It's like their jungler got pushed out, they got chunked. They will be damned if they do. They are damned if they don't. Yeah, it's like here Hansama could flash an auto and kill Patrick. It is what it is. We don't care too much. Do you know why they moved schedule 1 hour? Did they move the schedule 1 hour? Really? Is LEC starting 1 hour later? Tell me, my friend. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's... No, I think it's just tied to the consistency. And basically, I think LEC started. The Jacket You Wore on podcast was really dope. Where is it from? Basically, there's this movie called The Gentleman. You know, The Gentleman? That movie. you know? Good movie, yeah. Really banging movie, guys. Really, really banging movie. One second, guys. Yeah, I think they changed it because there's no North America behind LEC, like breathing down their neck, you know? So let's continue. So Xerxes did the golems, and then he's waiting for the respawn of raptors. Graves is just clearing his bot side to make the camps reset. What I like to do here as the Graves, or like generally speaking as a jungler, is to just not do the buff. Just don't do the buff and make sure that your Gromp and Wolves respawn faster, and the buff is what it is, you know? That's what I like doing. Here, Victor rewarded his own raptors, giving them information. They're assuming that Xerxes either does his own Gromp or the raptors. BB got a ward on it. The best team yesterday was G2, I believe. I think they've just shown the best depth in terms of bot lane, and I think every bot lane is going to run into a shock there in terms of finding that opposition. Here you see the return. Yike did not, in fact, base just yet, right? So he went, took blue, took his own Gromp, and reached level 4, right? So here is level 4, and he knows Wukong is into top side, but Wukong has a longsword. And then there's also the situation that is, of course, the mid wave. This is the information they're dealing with. Wukong was top side. He's not on his own Gromp because the ward has run out. K'Sante is starting to win. This is the K'Sante we know and love. So the situation that happened before with Odamna doesn't matter at all. Here, Victor is not in the game and Wukong is crossing. Jin spotted Graves. They made this play very telegraphed. Varus and Ashe cannot participate. This is just greed, right? This is greed. They don't know Wukong's position. They knew the timing of him finishing Raptors, so Wukong could definitely cross and come, and then there's a mid advantage for, of course, XL. Varus is slow pushing bot, but is showing on the wave. G2 are doing this play practically 3v2, because they don't have a mid lane, alright? So Wukong is crossing, and Yike is dashing forward, and this becomes super, super awkward, right? At this point, you retreat. You accept that this is not the play. You wasted time. In reality, Graves should have done Wolves, based, and looked for something, right? But I also understand the state of mind of Yike. His respawn is going to be so much later, and if Wukong is allowed to do Gromp, he's allowed to do Wolves, he's allowed to do his Raptor and Golems, after all of this, Yike will be actually behind. So I understand the state of mind he's in, right? Because that is the hardest thing. It's like, if you are invading the enemy camps and you're doing those camps for him, on the return, on the flip, on the conversion, if you don't manage to invade the respawn and the enemy gets to clear his respawn while your respawn hasn't happened yet, they're going to be actually stronger than you for a moment. It just like Caps has biscuits, right? And he could have potentially stayed. He can eat biscuits. He has mana, honestly. I think he could potentially hover. But the issue is as well is that the wave that both are contesting, this is the wave they're going to be level 6 on. So it's kind of awkward, you know? It's like Caps could hover, but Syndra could kill 1-2 minions, be level 6 and then walk. You know? So it's like the decision is kind of awkward for Caps. This is very, very tough. So another question, right, is if you look at Yike's decision, maybe Yike should just, after the chunk, defend his own Raptors. Right? Because that could be a play. Let's say now he does Wolves, does his own Raptors, paths into bot. Then he denies Wukong from the steal, and then all is good, you know? That could also be a play to defend his own Raptors here. Instead, they are warding, and then they're looking for the reinvade. Another question here is if they could have interacted somehow with the Syndra to make Caps' situation more favorable, because even though Caps has no mana, he has 2 Biscuits and 3 Corrupting, so he has mana. He definitely has mana. But it's just this timing here. Like, this timing here is... Like, this situation still looks fine. But Caps wants to contest level 6. I think, though, another version of this, right, is that they... I think... I'm trying to think the situation. I don't know Caps' XP. That's what makes it hard for me to argue if Caps is making a mistake here or not. Because Caps could also just choose to go here and to commit all the way. And then they can cut Syndra off, right? And the enemy is going to not be like in position. You can see XP on the right. Oh shit! I never saw this! Why didn't I know this? What? I thought you guys were trolling me, man. What? That's insane. That's so cool. Holy fuck, guys. Holy, chat is useful. I love you. My chat is the best chat, guys. My chat is just the greatest. Okay? My chat is the most intelligent. My chat is just fantastic. My chat is gorgeous. Gorgeous. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm smart. I'm loyal. I'm cool. Very based, guys. Giga chat based, all that good stuff. Okay, so both mid laners are not super close to 6. Then Caps could commit here. Caps could commit here. Caps could commit here. But it's hard to find a read. Hard to find that read, you know? I feel like they could commit here, Caps could commit here, and then they could just walk. So basically, like, I will show you where the mana, the XP is. You see this bar? I'm drawing on it. This is Caps' XP bar. This is Yike's XP bar. How much XP has? Broken Blade. Mickey. Thank you very much, Hiddelstedt, for the subscription. Hiddelstedt, the person of honor, the person of loyalty, busts out his credit card to support his favorite channel. Hiddelstedt, 200 IQ. 200 kilo bench press. That is Hiddelstedt for you. Yeah, I had no idea that there was an XP bar either. But I think Caps is just scared that Vete will get level 6 and the fight will be unfavorable. So I understand this part. But if Caps wanted to contest, he could biscuit up, he could stay here with his team, they could poke the enemy out, pull Raptors towards them, and play the game. Basically, we get replays. Basically, the issue with Riot is that we get replays and voice comms super late. So you want to digest the information while it's fresh, and that's like super important. And then you want to build your week off of it, but then it's like, yeah, you know, you get the voice comms on like Wednesday, and you get the replay file on like Wednesday, and the week has already built up momentum, and it's very tough to structure your week around that, you know? It's a little bit too late. So you make the most out of it from this perspective, unless they've changed something. Do you really want to fight as Victor at this stage? Victor is not that weak here. Keep in mind, has better items than Syndra too. And keep in mind, Wukong no flash. And if I remember correctly, Jin also had no flash, if I'm not too crazy. And that makes a difference. Graves no flash, sure. But Wukong contesting in such an area is not like super easy. Can coaches listen to comms during games? Yes, we can, yeah. He's not a coach anymore anyway, of course. Lavral Purapule never writes anything in chat. He has to find a little dig, you know. He doesn't know I have thick skin. I practically have fucking Ramos W on all the time, bruv. You cannot go through anything. You can roast me, you can barbecue me if you want, man. Just make sure to add spice so it smells good, okay? Okay, Vadius, gorgeous, man. We just want to see the gameplay. Alright, so we tune in, and then Patrick gets direct hit by Granada. I remember I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, and I remember that when you played like one of the sides, Granada! This is always what I feel like when I'm playing Heimerdinger. Direct hit grenade is huge. He was waiting as well. Like here I don't mind. Here I don't mind not queuing because you want to cut the distance. Like if he queues off of max range point click grenade, I don't think the beam will hit. So he's just queuing, get the move speed, gets direct hit. And of course the beautiful thing here about this little Q is that it tanks the first initial turret shot. And if the turret shot is firing towards the Heimerdinger tower, the Heimerdinger turret, basically, the turret is not scaling in its damage. You know what it's hitting champions? The damage becomes higher and higher. If that was the case for minions and like monsters, how much CS would that fuck up? It's like imagine you have a big wave coming into the turret and the turret needs to fire like 20 times in order to like basically, you know, to kill that wave. Imagine if that turret damage was stacking. It's like in the end it was just like one-shot cannon minions and shit. So it only works on heroes. So the fact that the turret tanks the first shot here on the dive while Heimerdinger is cutting the distance is a really cool detail, even though maybe it doesn't matter as much in this case. Another thing here is that Patrick was refusing to cleanse, right? So he could have bought a little bit more time. It would have been like a little bit of a difference maker. And this is huge, of course. Can you be G2's coach, daddy? Bro, Dylan Falco. Look at his track record, man. Put some respect on Dylan Falco's name, bruv. Dylan Falco, I have a lot of respect for what he did with G2 because they gained so much positive momentum from the start of December and November and also October. I'm missing a month in between there. Because through the practice and the methodology that they apply to their team, they managed to win Spring Split. They managed to win Spring Split with a roster that on paper didn't look good. True that, can we have two coaches? There's also Rodrigo. And then like the GM is fantastic. You have Romain. Like this is a good composition right there. I think here in this moment is where Yike loses a little bit of time. He's trying to tickle the Drake a little bit. And then he feels like Jin is posturing towards him, so he's hesitating. You know, here it's very important that you just keep clearing your camps because you want to make sure that you hit 6 in preparation for Herald. Because keep in mind here, Yike is almost level 5 and Herald is spawning in 1 minute. So this is essential. But they are looking for a gank, doesn't work, that's completely fine. He's gonna do his Gromp and then cross into topside. In Hans' interview, he said that the G2 staff is the best one he ever had. Yeah, makes sense, man. Most staffs I've worked with, it's like I've worked with some gem people, but relatively small staffs every time. So here, this is such a significant moment in the game because everything is going to be funneled towards the Rift Herald situation. So Wukong, still in very good conditions. His CS numbers are good, right? We talked about it before. The Raptor situation, Wukong secured it. He also stole enemy golems, enemy Raptors. Like, he's in very good condition. You look at the XP of Xerxes on the left, because apparently we see XP as well. He's going to now take the blue because he told Viteo, go fuck yourself. I'm going to get level 6 and we're going to win this fight because we have K-Sante, we have Syndra. We can one-shot one target super easily. Our top side is much stronger. We just need to make sure the Jhin walks down, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're going to have a big party here. So on paper here, much better. They are so much stronger on top side. Hello, Mama. My mother's in the chat. This arrow changes the whole game. This is a game-changing arrow. Viteo refuses to flash. You know, for some reason, I don't know. For some reason, Ashe just they increased the travel speed of the arrow for some reason. Just like that. We continue. The reason this is so huge is because XL has a stronger top side. Yike is level 5, Wukong is level 6, Jhin is in location, K-Sante, this is like the dream situation for K-Sante. K-Sante loves these Rift Herald fights. Think it's fair? Like, sure it's fair, but you know, it's like they decreased the cooldown of Ashe R and then made the travel speed higher. Like, it's nutty, man. It's crazy. So yeah, Mickey, like they're not busting. Like I don't know. Like, this is the Mickey looks dead to me. Like, you have Jhin W, you have Wukong R. I don't know why they are not throwing their load. You know, well, I don't know why they are not destroying what's going on here. But that's okay. And the main thing is here, it's like, this is what Jhin support players look like. It's like they're auto-attacking, they're refusing to W off of Wukong's spell. Like I don't know, man. But nevertheless, it all comes down to that arrow. The arrow just bonked the Syndra in the head, they killed her, and then all of a sudden the situation around this Herald is 4v3. And in reality, they should be much weaker. Because it's like Yike is level 5, K-Sante is strong, like this is the juicer of a fight, and all of a sudden they secure Herald. And I have to be honest, this masked Yike's mistake around the Raptors. I wouldn't say Yike's mistake, like their mistake as a team around the Raptors, you know? And all of a sudden they are really good into the game, because the gold swing you get from this on a Graves is massive. But if you play a game, if the enemy secures Rift Herald and Wukong is ahead of the curve of Graves is completely useless. Yeah, basically this situation should be auto Q, Jhin W. He gets rooted out of fog, you know, he gets just rooted instant. Like Heimerdinger is insta flash it. It's impossible to react to, I would say. Most players won't react to that. And then out of that, Wukong ults, Jhin autos, Qs, he's dead. And look at that Ashe arrow. Gorgeous Ashe arrow. Boom. Viteo needed to flash this. Yeah, I don't know if Broken Blade, Broken Blade was the luckiest player I've ever seen. Like, I don't know if he's Houdini and he's this good, that the man is just plain and simple, you know, doing juices on cooldown. But the fact that he gets away with this throughout the entire game, I don't know. At first time, luck. Second time, maybe just calculated skill. Broken Blade. The top father is just his dong is too big. Maybe that's the case. I'm gonna close the window. I'm still here. We continue. This game was so weird to watch for me. All right, let's take a look at this again. So Jhin gets arrowed in the forehead, but Heimerdinger is flashing, gets the beam, and Targamas is dead, 1 for 1. I think considering the conditions of both, they should be very happy with this trade. But not that big of a deal. Graves secures top, gets a kill as well. Like, this was really, really tight. Really, really tight. It's like, I'm also excited about G2, but less about Yike, less about Caps, less about Broken Blade, more so about Hans Sama and Mickey in the context of all the other bot lanes that we've seen so far in the league. I think that is the most redeeming and exciting quality about G2 that makes me put them on first. Veteo looked very lackluster, like very, very lackluster. Caps definitely, you know, laned well against him, and he's playing Victor, so Caps didn't have like a moment to do crazy shit, you know, he's just playing Victor, 5-pick Victor, you know? Can you explain why they don't want to put Herald top? Because they need to base. So they don't want to fuck up their tempo, and they just want to base. They already had good items. For example, here Graves already based on item. It wouldn't change. Jax wouldn't get mythic. They're already making Kisanta lose CS, so they can just base and go. Yeah, Caps played a wonderful game. Yeah, Caps played a wonderful game. Caps is Caps. You know, Caps is Caps. When we look at G2, Caps is there. We know Caps. That's super cool. Fnatic 0 through 3 week could happen. They have very tough games. Very tough games. What's your preferred approach into Heimerdinger? Heimerdinger, just pick a very long range champs. Pick Ashe away. Pick Ashe, and it's like Ashe is really good into the Donger. Lux is very good into the Donger. Seraphine is very good into the Donger. Yasuo is very good into the Donger. But who's gonna play Yasuo good? Nobody. Gorgeous arrow here on Targamas. He's just trying to cross, you know. Boom. Good reaction. Very nice speed here on G2's play. They lose. They keep the Dragon Leash as well. That's super, super nice. Let's take a step back here and see what's up. So Viteo got completely pushed out of lane. Caps has no ultimate. Caps needs to base. The wave is frozen on mid. So here Viteo, like they lack information in this area, right? Varus based later than Ashe. Ashe is already in position. Actually, Ashe didn't base at all. So Varus just based for item and Ashe is here. So Varus tempo is shit. Jhin is out of position. And Wukong is doing his red. So yeah, Targamas is going to Tribush. He just can't. He just can't go to Tribush. Okay. Yeah, it's like it comes from what before, right? It's like Victor stayed, he pushed out Syndra, but now Victor is staying on the map and Syndra has TP. So Syndra and Wukong can actually walk in here because Caps is not a mid laner right now. He's just not a mid laner. And then Wukong goes, Syndra follows after pushing, and Zuxi gets the steal. Let's see now the continuation. Here we have the Caps Road of Ages. To be fair, like even though I think Leandro is great here, my man Caps played to Road of Ages potential. My man was completely, like really, really enjoying himself with the with the Road of Ages HP. He was really pushing the limit of that. Here, I found it very surprising that there was such a big commitment into the top side. Like here, the main thing is you just want to create a circumstance where you get a valuable Herald placed. And of course here, G2 are in a position where they don't know where Wukong is. They don't know where Wukong is. They don't know if he's behind top, behind mid. So they're trying to make sure that they spot Wukong and then based off the information where Wukong is, attack wherever Wukong isn't, right? But here they're pushing for top, they look at Oruaman's HP and they think that they can set up a dive. But then here, very crucial situation. This Q that hits Broken Blade puts him in a situation where he gets ulted under the turret and then he gets ulted by Wukong. All in all, XL don't get a kill on Jax, but they also kind of deny the play that G2 is kind of setting up for here, right? They cleared the wave. And now Rift Herald is placed. And when I say deny the play, it means it's like denying the play, meaning they are walking 4 people into topside. They want to dive this Kesante and fuck him up, right? That's what I mean when I say deny the play. They're placing their herald, they're gonna get some platings. Do you have any tip to not watch games out of pessimistic perspective, and as in watching and being tilted by mistakes? I don't know. Maybe just don't watch. It's like I've played the game so much, so I understand the weight of every button press, you know, and I understand the weight that the players have on them. So for me, it's very relatable, you know, like I can relate to most of the things I see on screen, and that's what's up. And, you know, I also have, I have the humble perspective just because I've played against these players in 1v1s, 2v2s, and in solo queue and so forth. Like, I have played against them, and when you're matched up against them, all of these mistakes that you see, you know, you don't even begin to comprehend how much a player needs to like keep track of in order to compete against really, really strong players. For example, when I see Mickey hitting these direct hit grenades on players that are really, really good, that's way more insane than you in silver hitting your grenades on someone else that is silver. The context is just completely different. Do you think Xerxes was too passive? Maybe around the Rift Herald situation, but I think also Targamas just misplayed it. The Broken Blade is just trying really hard to force this play on top, but it was complete garbage. Complete garbage. The second layer to this, right, is that G2 spent so much time trying to force this play on top, and they give so much breathing room to Varus and Jhin to actually recover in this game. Because they're getting a lot of platings on bot, which is exactly the same that Rift Herald gave you, you know? Like Rift Herald is giving you exactly the same. Like they got some plating stop. They have a play where they're practically 4v2. And yeah, this was very poor from G2. Very bad. Let's continue. Ashe has his item, but so does Varus, so he's not completely like destroyed in this game. He got a lot of time to recover, got 2 platings on bot. Similar to the Rift Herald situation, of course. Also, Kesante got a kill. Like, it was a big swing there as a comeback. Now G2 is vibing again. A big deal here, of course, Mickey is leveraging the fact that this wards that he placed before is spotting Wukong on the blue. Syndra is hovering towards the blue, and Caps is going to have Prio and hovering to bot. So Mickey is playing like he knows. Like here, he's leveraging the fact that, you know, he knows that he has a big advantage here. Hansama is very, very over-leveled because he caught some waves on his own. Very, very over-leveled, like he's fucking level 10. Which gives him a huge shield from Shieldbow because that shit scales with levels. Good trades of autos here for Hansama because he has sustain, of course, in his itemization with the lifesteal of Shieldbow. Now Wukong crossed into bottom side. Viteo's defending his own jungle. Yike steals the Raptors. This time around it goes a lot quicker. He can practically one-shot them with the hit and the smite, and then Victor also helping him out. So there's no like big engagement. Viteo had to take the long route around because he didn't have prio, and Victor is pushing very far forward on mid. Mickey's trying to place vision to make sure that he spots people. The world spots Targamas now. Mickey and, of course, the moment they spot Targamas and they know that Wukong is on the golems, it means that Ashe can control the wave on his own on bot. Now Graves and Heimerdinger are just playing actively. Caps has E upgrade. He's getting prio, hovering into bot. Even though the fact that he's basing, the fact that he's hovering into bot is something that Excel needs to consider. Here G2 are letting up, so it's kind of signaling that Caps is basing for a lot of ages, and now they can kind of breathe and recover. Jax is just buffed. He just got, he's just straight up buffed. Has a lot more itemization options, and he just straight up got buffed, I think. I think also Jax was one of those champions that potentially had, like, could be played, but people didn't. And yeah, I think it's just straight up a buff. He can fish for gold in the river, which is pretty OP. You can get 1 gold in a game. Here, Heimerdinger Ashe. Really good principle play here by G2 for pulling the Herald towards Victor's side. They took the Prior from top, and then they are pulling it towards Victor's side to make sure that they can't get collapsed on. And by doing this, they make sure that Victor can connect. Imagine a situation where Xerxes wasn't showing like this. If Wukong wasn't showing like this, maybe they would be able to trap the Victor. But like this, they're hovering for the Victor and making sure that Victor crosses. Here in this situation, because Wukong is just showing himself, you know, he's just showing himself here. It doesn't make that big of a difference, but usually it does. So this is very principled, very good. Go into the bush and hide yourself in the pixel. Because when you pull it, you can easily engage on here, and you will not get completely like flanked by playing it in the pit, you know? This is something we saw in the IRLs. We reviewed K-Cop on this channel. There's the arrow. This time Viteo flashed. Caps is so tanky. Like, he has Mercs and he has Road of Ages. This is what is good about this Road of Ages build, is that you're a tank. You're a tank. Like, I'm talking about Liandry's in terms of DPS output, right? But like with Road of Ages and the Catalyst buy and the Mercs buy, in terms of lane phase against Syndra 1v1, you are so fucking strong, dude. So strong. Like, if Victor had Liandry here and he had maybe not Mercs, you know, like, he could just maybe just die here, right? Obviously, it's not that big of a difference, but Excel would just play differently in terms of how hard they commit if they know Victor is killable. I'm not saying that Road of Ages just gave him 1.2k extra. I mean that Excel would play it differently, of course, with that HP bar, and Victor was very killable here, you know? But the hour was clean. Like, people wanted to give Heimerdinger the play of the game, but on my end, I think Hansama is played a fantastic game. I think, of course, the flash on the kill could have been better. Big support gap. Like, I like what Yike has shown, but I will hold my reservations. I need to see more. One best of one where the support gap and the mid gap and the AD gap is this big. I can also jungle games like this, you know, because it's hard to make a mistake. And that's not putting, you know, that's not putting shit on Yike. It's just a situation that got presented to itself, you know? I just want to make that clear, you know? Let's not overhype Yike just yet. We need to see more. That's why I'm the most excited about what Hansam and Mickey contributed to this game, because it's something that can be easily replicated. You know? Good timing here on G2 invades on bot side. It shows that they practice Graves. You need to maintain this momentum. You need to make sure that you're ahead of the curve, stay ahead of the curve, and keep invading. Love this type of gameplay. Canyon, please watch this and see that it's still possible to Sisyphus the enemy jungle. Now I'm kidding, of course. Canyon right now has found a new playstyle. It's like, holy shit, I can just gank bot. I can gank bot and then I can win. That is crazy. It's like... So we can leave Canyon out of the conversation. I will review the whole season of K-Cop, yes. Okay, let's continue here. Let's see. The state of the game is, of course, very favorable for G2. Very strong 2-core Graves. Very strong Victor as well. He can't die. It's like, okay, BB. I don't remember this. BB just dies, it looks like. Flash. Okay, Houdini. Oh, never mind. This is where Yak bails him out again. Why K-Corp? I want to follow the teams. It's like, honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, it's like I'm following the teams that I would have like interest in working with, because that kind of aligns with my personal interests. And that's the thing, you know? It's like my personal interest. That's where I can bring the most passion and excitement. And those are the things that I also want to work with. So they kind of like fused together. And as a viewer and as a viewer, I want to bring passion. I want to really, really, I want to make sure that you guys feel my energy as you watch, and it goes hand in hand, Yeah, Yike did a good job. Like basically, Broken Blade, I respect what Broken Blade is doing. He's hard trading whenever Yike is around. That's like a principal play, right? So that part of it is completely logical and good from BB. My jungler is here. I'm going to fucking create chaos top. I'm going to take shit trades and I'm going to invite craziness. So that's very principled. That's good. We need to give BB a little bit of credit, right? Here, obviously, so when you are on the back foot, you need to defend your own jungle. So basically, if you're on the back foot, imagine a situation. We're going to just pull up Rift Kit. Imagine a situation, right, where you are the enemy team. You can't contest the wave, right? You can't contest the wave at all, and you're just going to get sister-fisted if there's anything happening here, right? So what you do is you don't show yourself on mid. You hide. You hide and you trap. You trap because the enemy is going to want to enter into here after taking mid prior anyway, right? So the best thing you can do is hide and trap. In this situation, right? This invites mistakes. If you can't contest, don't show your face. If you can't contest, don't show your face. This is the new rule. You're going to write it on your wall. If you can't contest, hide. Make it harder for the enemy to take prior. Because here, Mickey is doing the principal thing, is just placing wards, but his Graves is showing top, Ashe is showing on the wave, Varus is here, and then two people are trapping. So when they are hitting the Heimerdinger, they have all the information they need. Jax is here, Graves is here, Victor is here, and Ashe is here. So the Dinger is entering this space, and XL find the punish. Very good, very good. Yeah? Often you see players, it's like, oh, the Jhin goes on mid, and then the Wukong stands here, and they're all just looking at each other. And what are they doing? They're like, we can't contest mid. What are we doing? Very common, very common. Don't be that guy, okay? Don't be that guy. Don't like that. Don't like that. So it's gone. Mickey dies for breaking the principle. Some poke in the mid lane. Hansama is saving gold for Ginzus, so as long as he can farm, this poke doesn't matter. He wants to base for Ginzus. Mickey getting chunked to shit. I don't know how Mickey gets away with this, because they know Hansama's condition, right? Like, this is a situation where maybe you need to push for more. Maybe, right? Like, if you're on the back foot, you need to consider moments like this to maybe kill the barrel cosplayer, That's how Patrick's play on the Ashe could be converted into something, right? Because Mickey has no flash, and then the Jhin W once again doesn't land. It's like, this is some washed Jhin gameplay, These Jhin Ws need to hit. Need to hit. Need to hit. Really good lane assignments here. Like, gorgeous lane assignment. Victor into Kesante that has fucking 400 armor. Blessings. Ginzu base for Ashe. Here Caps is looking to farm some gold, some first strike money from Odo. Understandable. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Diving Broken Blade here seems very unrealistic. Let's see if it happens. Okay, Xerxes just gives us a love tap. Once again, he's showing his face. We don't like that. Don't show your face unless you're like diving. Don't show your face. He doesn't have first strike? You're right, he doesn't have first strike. I lied. So Cash doesn't rule everything around me. Okay, here's another attempt. It's like, what on earth is this? Yamato, do you listen to MF Doom? Yeah, I do. I do. I love MF Doom. So this is very strange. I don't know what Excel is trying to achieve here, okay? So basically, they get the prio on top. Imagine a situation where Viteo hides in fog and they pressure onto mid while BB is catching the wave, right? As an example. And then they can maintain control over river and then they can do something. But instead, we have the situation where Wukong showed, right? Wukong showed his face. He's showing his face again. Jin is showing up. And Ashe Heimerdinger will have the easiest crossing through river, and on top of that, Varos will be completely isolated. XL could have maintained that connection. They could have controlled river, made sure that the enemy can't connect, could have given full vision to Syndra. Syndra will be able to chip away at Jax's HP pool, and then eventually, when they have the right information to act, maybe they could dive the Jax. But this is very rushed. Now Varos will be isolated. You see Heimerdinger and Varos, they're crossing, they're moving. Heimerdinger Ashe are moving. And here Caps Road of Ages is so fucking tanky, he doesn't give a damn. This is the beauty of Road of Ages. Like, he's so tanky. It's like, this is the argument for Road of Ages. He's so tanky, man. 3 kills into Nash, and I would have to say that the game is over. I don't know why was people overhyping so much XL preseason. Yeah, like, I am not on that hype train at all. Like, I think they're the fifth best team in the league, and I think that Mad Lions could easily overtake them. So, like, on my end, I think Mad Lions, Team Heretics can definitely edge them out. For me, my issue with XL is that even though I think Viteo and Patrick have had games where they've performed like absolute superstars, it hasn't been consistent enough in games that matter. When I think of Patrick and Viteo's history in best of 5, it is quite disappointing. And that could be due to numerous factors. But elite tier players, they win when it matters. And before XL overcome that hurdle, I am not convinced. And I think Oruan is a great pickup. Very solid pickup, strong pickup. But top laners have never been the main focus of Europe. You don't, and I feel like now with the approach of bringing in Photon, things might change. Because Photon is looking like a juicer. So, we continue. Here, honestly, I think this is smooth sailing from onwards. I think there's very little chances for XL to move on. We can look at maybe G2's map openings. So basically, top lane is even. Usually, if you're playing if you have Nash, 1-3-1 is often a myth. You can only play 1-3-1 if you have perfect information. But in order to achieve that perfect information, usually open through mid. You need to spot the enemy. You push the mid wave, the enemy shows on the mid wave because you're buffing it with Nash, and then you enter into enemy jungle. You're outnumbering with 5. Put down vision. What is the enemy doing? Are they trying to kill the bot wave? Go and collapse on them. Making sure that top lane is a dead lane is perfectly fine here for G2. They are sieging. Now they have information. The engage onto mid is going to be not so easy for XL as long as they are covering the right pockets. Right here they have vision. The main thing that these want to create is to make sure that if the enemy tries to engage on them, they can easily kite back and make the enemy lose HP. Jax is crossing into bot, and what Jax is saying is, I'm going to push bot, guys. Don't fight on mid. Just chip away on the turret and make sure that the cannon is alive. And if the enemy tries to hard engage, then we can kite back and we can do good. But here, once again, right, imagine a situation with Xerxes and Fog. Maybe he looks to sweep a ward here. Maybe he tries to make himself bigger. Maybe there's a situation where he can engage. But what happens in a situation where he's hiding? Patrick is in the state of mind where he wants to find an engage on the enemy by playing in Fog. And Xerxes is just showing his forehead, right? I feel like the XL teams have been good at winning games where they have a lot of positive momentum, but when games are even or like they're behind, I feel like XL has always been quite bad. So that's like my feedback towards XL. I think there's been years of XL where their Nash has been shit, their progression of the game has been shit unless they've been really, really far ahead. And that's like XL, like when they find those big momentum games where like Marcoon and like Nuke Duck were diving mid and then hovering into bot and then snowballing the Draven bot, and then all of a sudden they just break the game open and win in 20 minutes, you know? Of course, this is a completely new team. This is a completely new team, so maybe it's completely irrelevant, but it's a fun thing to bring up, you know? Yeah, I think a concern of mine for XL is that I don't see anyone being like super selfless in this team. You know? They're chipping away, chipping away. Caps is tanking, he doesn't give a fuck. His name is Road of Ages. Here comes the dinger! Dinger, dinger, dinger. Well, how did he get there? He looks like the skin he's using is so fucking funny. He just looks like a mad scientist. Alright guys, we don't have a lot of time, so we're just gonna jump into Vits versus Fnatic. This is a big one too. We have 45 minutes. I don't know why you guys get flashbanged. It's really not my intention. Sorry. I don't know why my settings are not saved. There we go. Alright. It's okay. Eyes on Fnatic, ladies and gentlemen. Fnatic made a lot of changes. Let's jump into the draft right away. We fast forward. This was a very unique game because I feel like it looks like to me that Kaiser and Rux just went through this whole week on full copium,